Hey everyone, I'm Scott Stokely, and I am talking to somebody smarter than me. At least I'll give the nod, certainly in this area of expertise. He's about to knock it out of the park, but just a real quick setup on why we're having this conversation. Uh, Everyone who follows me knows that I've got out back on tour, that I've gotten in shape, I've transformed my body, that my health is good. I'm physically accomplishing things that I would not be able to if I was not in better shape. Well, part of this process was, well, actually, many steps in this process, but one of them is giving my body the things it needs to succeed. Uh, that starts with food, it starts with water, of course, but that's not always the complete package, especially if you're trying to be an athlete. Athletes' bodies take more, older people's bodies take more than is easy to just get in diet alone. Now, you may not know this about me, but I am a card carrying member of the American Society of Skeptics. I have actively debunked pseudoscience my entire adult life. I recognize that a randomized, placebo controlled, double blind study, properly administered, is all that like trumps your anecdotal evidence every day of the week. You go to a GNC for all these supplements with a bunch of really healthy looking people on the labels. The vast majority of those are placebos. They're nonsense. There are, however, some things you can supplement yourself with that are not nonsense. Vitamins, minerals, creatine. Creatine's not make believe, it's the real deal. Proteins, and especially amino acids. And I am going to stop talking like I'm the smart guy in the room, because I'm going to start asking my guest, Dr. Wolf, about amino acids, because he's the one that developed the products for this company that was following what I was doing and reached out to me and said, we would like to partner with you, sponsor you, whatever you want to call it. We want to be a part of this journey with you. We can help you. Full disclosure, I am sponsored by this company, but this is a product and a product line that I would have been taking anyways. It just so happened that the best company out there reached out to me, and that's how this relationship formed. That's the most I'm going to talk the rest of the time here. Dr. Wolf, thank you so much for joining me.
I'm glad to have the chance to talk over these things. It's certainly my favorite topic.
I love it. Well, let's start by the big picture before we start talking about me and athletes' health. Amino acids, like, fill everyone in.
Well, we're all familiar with dietary protein, and dietary protein is composed of amino acids. They're the building blocks of protein, which we eat, as well as the proteins in our body. There are over 3,000 different proteins in the body. They're all composed of amino acids in different order and different sequences, but there are 21 different amino acids that compose all the proteins in our body. Out of those 21, 11 are called essential, or nine are called essential amino acids, and those are amino acids that cannot be produced in the body by normal metabolic pathways. And the other 11 are called non-essential amino acids because they can be produced by metabolic pathways in the body, and we don't really need to eat them. So the essential amino acids are the ones that have to be eaten in the diet every day to maintain the protein nutrition in the body. The non-essential amino acids also come along in dietary protein, but there's no specific requirement for the non-essential amino acids. And these amino acids are necessary to enable a balance between the protein production and the protein breakdown that's occurring continuously in our body. And it's really the role of these essential amino acids in our diet that I've focused on in my research for the last 20, 25 years. And it's the research on essential amino acids and the role they play in protein nutrition in our body that led me to develop products specifically targeting different circumstances and different clinical conditions. And for the purpose of today, it's focused specifically on exercise. But we've also developed products in the area of heart failure and delirium, and a variety of different clinical situations, which we found that different formulations are beneficial. But for today's conversation, we'll focus just on the role of general health and exercise.
Now, I just to clarify, the essentials, you can get these through diet in a perfect world?
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's a dietary requirement for our essential amino acids. All dietary proteins are composed of a combination of essential and non-essential. Some proteins have only some of the essential amino acids, and they're considered incomplete dietary proteins. But a lot of the dietary proteins do have all the essential amino acids. And in fact, there's a way to score the quality of the protein predicated on the abundance of the specific essential amino acids in a dietary protein. One of the issues that is a point of consideration is that the proteins that are considered high quality, that have all the essential amino acids, are largely the animal-based proteins: beef, eggs, milk, those types of animal-based proteins. Well, plant-based protein foods also will have essential amino acids, but may be deficient in one or more of specific essential amino acids, so that you have to be much more careful in mixing and matching your dietary food sources of protein to get all the essential amino acids if you're consuming a plant-based diet. But in either case, we eat a certain amount of essential amino acids every day, and that's part of our dietary requirements that are well recognized for maybe the last 100 years. The key is how we eat these amino acids, in what format we eat the amino acids. And in every protein food source you can think of, for be it meat or plants, whatever, it's not a pure protein. It's a protein in a food source that has other things that come along with it. And, that's one of the complications where we're trying to target specific metabolic processes. The advantage of using just mixtures of free amino acids is that we can compose it to exactly target the metabolic process without any of the fat or carbs or any of the other things that come along with normal sources of dietary protein.
So is this similar to the same way in a perfect diet, you get all your vitamins, but it's not a perfect world? We have time restrictions, we got financial challenges, we've got convenience, we've got food preferences that make supplementing necessary.
That's definitely a relevant point. It's actually, the vitamin analogy is pretty good, because there's certain vitamins which there's research shows that if you go beyond the minimal requirement, that you may get extra unexpected benefit from it. So like there's certainly a lot of evidence that if you take extra vitamin C, you may get some benefit in terms of immune function. And this is the same with regard to the dietary protein and the amino acids in dietary protein, that what we see with the essential amino acid supplements is that you can make up for deficiencies, certainly, but also even in a diet that is very well balanced and complete, you can get extra benefit from specifically targeted essential amino acid supplements.
When you said you developed the ratios, the combinations specific to different things, you originally worked with NASA, right?
Yeah, the whole project started back in the 1990s with NASA. The problem with spaceflight is that you have no gravity, and so the exercise is very difficult to maintain your muscle mass. And in fact, still to this day, the limiting factor in a flight to Mars is that you would lose so much muscle over the space flight that you wouldn't be able to actually pilot have enough strength to pilot the return trip. And so that the goal is to develop a nutritional approach that decreased the rate of muscle loss with the lack of gravity. The complication in the space flight is that every gram of is very carefully metered out that goes into the flight module. So that the idea was to develop a dietary supplement that would minimize muscle loss while at the same time being in a very small volume. And that led to a series of studies in which in my laboratory we were able to define exactly what the optimal ratio and number of amino acids were to optimize the response to minimize the loss of muscle while being contained in the smallest volume possible. And that turned out to be a very useful principle for moving forward in all directions because, for example, the main target has been nutrition for protein nutrition in older individuals. And to have a small, well, you could tell from me too, it became much, I worked in a pediatric hospital for 30 years, but then I gradually became more interested in the aging process. So, that I can't imagine why. But in any case, the point is that that in these different circumstances, it turns out that there are metabolic responses that occur with aging or with stress in different circumstances that make the ideal formulation a little different, and that the optimal stimulation of the production of new proteins for different circumstances differs. And so that led to a series that have at this point 10 patents on different formulations for different clinical and physiological circumstances, and including aging as well as exercise.
I'm curious about the effects that it's having on me. And right off the bat, I just said, take your anecdotal evidence and, take it with a grain of salt. Same for me. We're the worst judges of ourselves. The placebo effect works on everybody. So I was very cognizant of that when trying to evaluate how the amino acids are helping me. Things like I feel better doesn't carry a lot of weight to me because you can't quantify that. But in athletics, you can quantify certain things. One of the things I noticed because I've been hitting the gym regularly enough to know where my thresholds are, where my limits are. When I was taking the amino acids, the Perform, you have several different blends for different time periods, that I was able to perform better. And again, I can quantify this with numbers, how many reps, how much weight. There was a measurable difference. Why was I better with Perform than had I not taken it? Because I actually ran out my first month and I saw a decline for a week while I was waiting for the order to come in.
Well, I think if we think about exercise, and going to the gym and doing weightlifting is a good way to think about it, but with the disc golf, we want to also talk a little bit about a prolonged lower intensity exercise. But just thinking about weightlifting, there's really two aspects of exercise support that we want to think about. One is a broad sort of general health and long-term promotion of muscle strength and fitness. But the other is actually what enables you to perform the exercise at that time. And that's what the Perform is designed for. And people, I think, tend to think of the body kind of like a car, that it will do a certain amount of energy, and then you got to take the energy and it's like fueling up with gas, and that'll be the energy to make it through the exercise. But that really isn't exactly the way it works. And that is that we have plenty of energy on board without any nutrition at all to go through a workout and not run out of energy. What we run out of is the mental energy and focus to perform those additional reps and heavier weight. 100%. And there are different aspects of focus and mental energy, but the one that is unique and that is the patented aspect of the Perform is that there is a production of the perception of fatigue or excitement, either way, is determined largely by the balance between two neurotransmitters in the brain, dopamine and serotonin. And these two neurotransmitters are promoted by the essential amino acids. The essential amino acids are converted into both dopamine as well as into serotonin. What we want to do is promote the balance favoring high dopamine and low serotonin. And that will give us greater energy and perception of well-being, rather than a high serotonin, makes you feel sleepy and tired. Tryptophan is the main precursor of serotonin. And I think, it's been at least legend for many, many years about serving someone a turkey dinner to put them to sleep, because a turkey meat is actually the highest in tryptophan of any available meat product. And so we want to avoid anything that has tryptophan in it. While at the same time, the tyrosine and phenylalanine are the precursors of dopamine, which will increase the dopamine production. So that we have this balance that we can achieve through giving an amino acid mixture specifically focused on maintaining a high dopamine, low serotonin, so that you feel energy and mental focus the entire way through your exercise, and it's not diminished, even though physically you're getting tired. I think we all know that you can always squeeze a little bit more out of it, but what's the mental restriction? And the mental restriction is that you're kind of running out of energy due to the neurotransmitters. And so the principal aspect of the perform is this ratio of amino acids to maintain the ideal neurotransmitter balance. To that, we couple that with adding caffeine, which amplifies these effects on the neurotransmitters to stay alert and mobilize energy sources, so that these are factors which are important during exercise, or to take it right before exercise and throughout the exercise. But if we want to build muscle strength and muscle mass, then we really want to take following exercise an approach which is not so much geared towards the neurotransmitters, but specifically to promote muscle growth and strength increase. So that ideally, we really kind of use two different formulations: the perform to enable a better workout, and then a different amino acid mixture, either the heal or the life, to promote protein synthesis and the muscle growth and development in the time after you've finished your workout.
Yeah, and what you're saying, that's been that describes how I feel about it. The thing that's been interesting for me, because I'm 52 years old, is that when I got back into training, it was April of last year. So it's about 10 months now. And I remember, I don't like lifting weights. I don't like being at the gym. It is not my happy place. Some people love it. I do it, because I have goals. But the thing that I'm noticing is that when I do my workouts, I do like 2 hours and 20 minutes when I started consolidating because of schedules and travel. I don't get burned out after like an hour and 45 minutes. I mean, I'll feel muscle fatigue in the muscles that I use when I'm done with my arms can tell. But mentally, I don't cheat. Like, I don't want to cheat. I have the motivation to keep going more than I had 20 years ago when I was doing this. And really the only difference is the aminos, because I'm older, but everything else seems very similar. But that would explain it.
I think that's really a common, I'm a scientist, and all of this was developed by the classic sort of tests of randomized clinical trials and so forth. But one of the things that I learned many, many years ago about exercise physiology is that the guys in the gym know more than the scientists, and the scientists are kind of catching up with why the guys in the gym are experiencing what they are. And so I think I would be foolish to not, take into account what people like you are saying about how it makes you feel. And I've had actually the same perception as well. And I think that if we look at the other side of the coin, one of the things that's been really popular for a long time is energy bars, or taking like carbs, particularly carbs, to sort of fuel the energy. And what we see and the reason for the motivation to do this other approach is that when you take carbs, it may provide a little bit of a jack up for a little bit of time, but it stimulates the insulin release, and the blood glucose actually drops to a lower level than before you ever had the support. So that when you're talking about a 2-hour workout, whether it be lifting weights or out on the golf course or whatever, when it's a prolonged effort, you can't have that kind of drop. You're going to sag, and it's actually the energy, the so-called energy bar that you've taken is going to actually drain your energy because of the hypoglycemia that is very likely to come sometime later, but you're still exercising. That's the time you're starting to fade. And that's the whole point with Perform. A dose of aminos 30 minutes before you start your workout will still be elevated in the blood after 2 hours, although the ideal way to do it is to drink throughout the exercise as well to maintain those amino acids elevated. But it's just, it's frustrating to me when I just finished watching the Masters on TV. And, for all the advice that Tiger Woods gets, I'm sure, I kind of cringed because I saw him sitting down eating a big giant sandwich after about 6 or 8 holes. And I'm thinking, he's going to be tired. He's going to really start flagging towards the end. And of course, he's had injuries and everything. But when you watch him, trudging up the last few holes, I couldn't help but feel like if he had just been taking aminos, then instead of that big sandwich, he would be retaining a lot of energy, because that is exactly the perception that we get back over and over of people saying that they've been able to maintain their focus on a long run for the whole duration, or like you said, 2 hours in the gym. That's a long time to maintain a mental focus on a workout.
Yeah, and I hate it the whole time. So
yeah. Well, I'm in the same category as you. I have been a runner all my life, but then, maybe I turned 75 and realized that I really was losing muscle mass despite exercising every day, and started working out in the gym. And I've seen a lot of real benefit, but I still dread I do 3 workouts a week in the gym, and every night when I go to bed, I think, I got to get up tomorrow and go to the gym. But I'm the same as you, is that I know it's doing me good, so I'm going to stick with it. And I think that the mental energy is really a factor. I have that Perform before I go to the gym, and by the time I get there, I'm kind of ready to go. And that's really the whole goal of it. It's not a physiological strengthening your muscles. It's what it is it's mental. It's giving you the focus to tap into the resource that you're really capable of achieving.
Couldn't agree more. Okay, now let's talk about the backside, which is, your product is called Heal, but this is post-workout. And one of the videos and one of the things I'm finding challenged with right now is fatigue on the golf course, muscle fatigue from competing and training. And I want to be clear about something, because I don't want this to be interpreted as, well, I'm not recovering properly because why would I still fatigued? I'm fatigued because I'm 52 years old and I'm working really, really hard. I can't compare my body, what's happening to a 20-year-old. I have to compare it to a normal 52-year-old who could not keep up with me physically, because I am in really good shape. It's just I'm also, 52. But one of the things I've noticed is that when I work out and I use the Heal, is that I am recovering faster than when I wasn't using it. Like, I wouldn't even be out here competing if I wasn't doing this. So I'm still struggling with the fatigue, even though it's less.
Yeah.
How does the Heal work? How does the Heal work in recovery?
The Heal is designed to function in a inflammatory state. It's called Heal because it was originally developed for recovery from orthopedic surgery. And we showed that recovery was, the speed of recovery was cut in half with taking the formulation in Heal. But then I started thinking about the process of exercise and the recovery, and particularly, this is really what is the definitive problem as you get older, because I've run over 60 marathons. And so all my life I did my training running to work and home for work for the most part. And so 2 workouts a day, and found that I could pile one workout on top of the next and the next, and was for 20 years ran at least 100 miles every week. And then now I find that just playing golf we walk when we play, and then playing golf 3 days a week gets really, it just starts wearing you down. And I think that if we just understand a little of the physiology of the exercise response, it's pretty clear how it works. And that is that when you exercise and train, you have a certain degree of inflammatory response that occurs in the muscle. It's not really severe, but it's definitely there. And that stimulates the breakdown of proteins. And that's actually part of the training process, because you break down the proteins that are kind of old and not working so well and replace them with newly produced proteins that function better. And that's part of the training process. That process takes longer as you get older. And until you've reached that point where you've replaced these proteins that are broken down with new proteins that are functioning really well, you're going to feel fatigue, and you're going to start getting fatigue piling up one workout after the next if you don't recover. So that the formulation of HEAL is designed to function even in an inflammatory state, post-exercise, post-surgery. They're actually quite similar, and promote the regeneration of new proteins to balance the proteins that are degraded because of this inflammatory response, so that it cuts their recovery time down. Now, that being said, you still, at 52, need more recovery time. And in fact, I charted it very clearly. It's easy with running because you have just a time in a marathon. And it was right about 52 where all of a sudden my time started really getting slower. I mean, it's a tough transition. And part of the real challenge is not just physical, but mental. And that is, you feel like you're not making it, you're starting to slip. So the natural thought is, I got to train harder to, reverse this trend going backwards, which I went through for a couple of years until I realized that the reason I'm getting slower is I'm just not recovering as fast. And now I'm piling workouts one on top of the other when I'm actually not recovered yet. And once I started taking an amino acid formulation like HEAL that cut the recovery time down, but at the same time also recognize to myself, I got to recover before I do the next workout. Then I started making a lot of progress, even with less effort than when I was just piling one workout on top of the other and not giving myself a chance to recover. And I can tell you that, from my age, I'm 75, that's, you got nothing to look forward to as you get older on recovery time. It's nothing but the wrong direction. No. But the whole point is that you got to just mentally accept the fact that you're not going to be as fast as you were, or as trained as you were, but you're still, like you say, better than you would be if you weren't working out. That's the measure that we all have to look to. And in that case, you're going to do the best with actually recovering before you start your next heavy workout.
Well, first off, I refuse to accept that, even if it's true. It's the only non-science part of me. I refuse to accept the data. So real quick, if anyone's interested in ordering, there's going to be a link below. There is a code. I'll put it right next to the link to get 30% off. Amino acids aren't cheap. I mean, you get what you pay for. I suppose there's probably knockoff versions at GNC. I've done my research. In fact, one of the reasons why I went with you guys, because I really try to be credible with anything I endorse. That's something that I've built a following of people that know that I'm going to be straight with them. And I want to ask you about this, because one of the things people don't realize is that supplements are pretty much basically allowed to say whatever they want. They don't have to be subjected to certain tests. They can just basically make broad statements that, if they're not false, can be sold as like a viable, usable product. The best example I love to give with this is all soap removes bacteria. So all soap can call itself antibacterial, but they sound real sciencey when they say that, like it's something different. Well, like supplements do the same thing. You guys are different. You guys have subjected yourself to the tests, not a test, but a multitude of tests. Can you tell me about that? Because that does set your company apart from
Yeah, I mean, in a way, I mean, I am definitely not an advocate for extensive government regulations of everything. But one of the things that is a challenge for us in the nutritional field, particularly what we call medical nutrition, where we're targeting specific medical and physical problems, is that, like you said, there's really no regulation. It's not under FDA control. And so that it's very difficult to get across to people the difference in the kind of background research that we've done as compared to products that have just made these claims. And it's we provide in our webpage extensive backup material of different publications that we run 24 clinical trials with randomized placebo clinical trials of different combinations once we've developed the formulations. And this is just not the custom in the field. And it's, you know, it's really been a challenge to distinguish what we're doing versus just, you know, thinking of a thought like, well, this might be good, and then making it up. Because, as you said, the regulation is very sketchy. I mean, theoretically, there are limits to what you can say, but from a practical standpoint, it's
You
really
can be very creative.
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's why, you know, we're very heavily science oriented. And we're just taking the approach of dealing with people like you that are willing to actually look into the basis for the claims that are made by us as well as others, and you know, learn by experience that actually the products work, because that's really, at the end of the day, placebo effect will only carry you so far, and then it starts fizzling out. But I think most people, their company goals are to get that first order, and then if it doesn't work well, you know, just get the first order from somebody else. And our goal is to really establish users for a lifetime, because, you know, these things are not they're used up. You take the amino acids, they're used in metabolic processes, they enable better function. But then, like you said, when you're finished and you're out, you go back to where you were. So you need to keep eating them. And that's why really our goal isn't just a transient boost, but really to incorporate amino acid nutrition as part of the normal metabolic and nutritional support over the whole lifetime.
Yeah, and by the way, what you everything you described, I'm glad you agreed with it, because that was what I researched you guys like thoroughly before I was going to endorse you. And you know, people don't realize the supplements that get endorsed by the fitness magazines are the supplements buying the full page ads. Yeah. Like that's how it works. And that's the industry. You spend money to buy the advertising, then the magazine recommends you, or website. That's not the approach you guys have taken. You guys have taken the approach of being legitimate. And that's why I'm on board with you. I mean, 100%, you guys back it up. I won't keep you much longer. I have one question. I'm curious about something. And this was happening last year to me when I started with the amino acids. It wasn't really happening this year because I haven't had time, but I used to be more fatigued. Like I'd kind of hit in that age where like afternoon naps became the norm, and I didn't feel like I was sleeping as well. And when I started taking the amino acids, I started realizing, oh, I haven't taken a nap in a week, and I was sleeping better. But is that correlation versus causation? I don't know. Is that something that you guys have found, that people have more just daily energy?
Yeah, I mean, the reason you're sleeping better is because you're maintaining your energy during the day. It is possible to promote sleep with amino acids, because you can promote the serotonin production. We didn't go in that direction because of not wanting to get into the kind of analogy of the sleeping pills and amphetamines to wake up in the morning, pills in the afternoon. Because if you maintain a good level of energy throughout the day, then you sleep better. And that's the principle that we're following on sleeping. But that is a very common response, that you feel better in sleeping because you maintain a higher energy level during the day. And that comes back to this brain neurotransmitter role that we really are promoting a balance which gives you more energy, a higher level of brain dopamine relative to the serotonin, so that you maintain more energy over the whole course of the day. And that then feeds into your sleep, because you go to bed, you've actually expended a lot more energy over the course of the day, so you sleep better.
Make a start. I mean, it's logical. I mean, it makes more
Yeah, I
sense.
mean, I think that I just yeah, I'm much more focused on performance than the sleep, and that's why I wouldn't want to be having people take a high tryptophan. Although, as I said, there are a few products available that you can do that, but that's a balance that, in my mind, is not particularly helpful, because it doesn't promote protein metabolism in the body, and it has to be reversed when you wake up. And instead, when you just have a natural sleep that's pretty deep because of the fact that you've expended a lot of energy, then you wake up the next morning, you're ready to go.
Gotcha. I love it. Well, I won't keep you much longer, or I won't keep you at all. Let me just kind of wrap it up, and then I'll give you the floor if there's anything you want to add. So basically, what my observation, my lifetime of wisdom's observation is, obviously, you should be healthy when you're younger. Obviously, if you're an athlete, the healthier you are when you're younger will benefit you. However, you can get away with not being as healthy when you're younger and still be athletic. I mean, not everybody who plays Major League Baseball eats a perfect diet.
Yeah.
Like you can get away with more when you're younger, even if it's not the best option. Firsthand, as you get older, just everything doesn't work as well as it should. And you can make up for this, at least part of it, with these things: diet, exercise, overall health, not being obese, not being a smoker. I mean, there's some major things. Amino acids are not BS. They're not a placebo. They are going to be a part of what I do forever. They're not cheap, but I don't know what price you can put on feeling good and feeling healthy, and anything I can do to keep Father Time from getting in the front door, I'm going to do. And even if I can't compete at 52 the way I could at 22, if I can compete the way I did at 42, that's still better. 42 is still better than 52 when it comes to athletics, right?
Yeah.
So I'm completely sold. I've been sold. I will be with you guys. And there's no reason why I'm going to be changing from you guys. So I endorse you. I always disclaim that it's a business arrangement as well, but people know that I'm straight. I don't lie to the people that follow me ever. And I'm 100% on board with you and your company. Is there anything you want to add before I let you go?
Well, I don't think I could have summed it up any better. I think that's the exact perception that we have, and that is that this can be incorporated into your lifestyle in a way that will improve every aspect of that of your life. The thing that I would just like to emphasize that you did say, and I just like to emphasize that in the book I wrote, I concentrated not just on amino acids, but the whole lifestyle, the regular diet, the exercise, all aspects of the lifestyle feed together to enable you to maintain that competitive edge at 52 or even as you get older. And that the essential amino acids are really designed to be a supplement to a healthy diet and a healthy lifestyle. And I think that as particularly as you get older, that you can't really look for it to cover you because of everything else bad that you've eaten, but rather just a component of a healthy lifestyle. And like you said, as a young kid, it just doesn't seem to make much difference. It's it's remarkable what young guys can eat and still perform. But as you get older, you have to pay more attention to it, and that the amino acids are just part of a whole lifestyle that you have to pay attention to if you want to maintain a really active, functional outlook, not only at 52, but 72 and even 90, that you need to really pay more attention to all the aspects of your life.
And I couldn't have said that any better myself. So I really appreciate you. When I click off Hang Out, we'll chat for a minute after I stop recording. But once again, everyone, there's a link down below. Dr. Wolf says, as a salesperson, I cringed at one thing you said, which was, well, if you try it and it doesn't work for you, try something else. It's like, no, it does work. Like it really, truly does. There is no if. If you try it, you're going to get the results, but it's not a magic pill that you can just continue to live your life doing all sorts of awful stuff and this is going to fix you. It is part of being healthy and active and doing the other things that we all know you need to do. So, but use the link to get 30% off. Try them. Message me, post, and tag me in social media when you start feeling better, and we'll share it on my page. But thank you again, Dr. Wolf, for your extremely valuable time and for the products you developed. Really means a lot to me, and it works. Thanks, man.
Great, thank you.
Awesome. All right, we'll go ahead and